All right, so let's talk about measuring with the correct number of significant figures. And I've got 4 examples here on the screen that we can walk through. Now, before you decide what you're going to measure, look at the instrument that you're going to use and figure out what the scale means. Do a little interpretation first. So I'm going to look at this first instrument. We'll do the top, bottom, and then left and right here. I look at this top instrument and I see that the big lines go up by the tens, and that gives me a clue to figure out what the littlest lines go up by. If the big guys go up by the tens, the smaller lines must go up by the ones place. So this is 20, 21, 22, 23, and so forth, all the way up to 29, and then we hit 30. So now I know with confidence that these little guys represent the ones, the one spot. So then I figure out, what am I going to measure? Well, I'm measuring the end of this red thing. So I know the red thing falls in between the 20, the one spot, and the 21. Remember the one spot here. So I know it's between 20 and 21. I know with confidence it's at least 20 and not 21. It's in between there. So I'm going to write down what I see. I know it's at least 20. So that's what I write down. And then I'm going to guess, to the best of my ability, I'm going to guess how far in between those two lines it is. And it looks like it's about halfway. So I'm going to write a 0.5. That one digit, the last thing I write down, is my guess. It's always that way. You write everything you see plus a guess. So if I had to answer or write down a recording, I would write 20.5 for this substance. Now I'm going to measure with this bottom scale. Again, don't worry about where the red is right now. Just worry about what the scale says. This is 0.5, this is 0.6. So I know it's going up, the big lines are going up by the tenths. What comes after the tenths? The hundredths. So these little lines represent the hundredths. So that means this is 0.50, 0.51, 0.52. So for instance, this line is 0.52. All right, so now that I know that I see the tenths in the hundredth space, my guess is going to be in the next space over. What is that? The thousandths. Now this is what I'm thinking about before I even notice where the red line is. I know that my guess is going to be the thousandths because I can see the tenths and the hundredths spot. So this is 0.5, 1, 0.52, 0.53, 0.54, and so forth, all the way up here to 0.58. This line is 0.59. The next line would be 0.60. 0.60 for the next line, and so forth. Once you decide these lines represent the hundredth spot, they all represent the hundredth spot. Doesn't matter if they're big or little or how they're labeled. Anyways, this red line we can say is right on the 0.58 line. But you can't just say 0.58 is your final answer. Because if you said 0.58, it would mean the 8 is your guess. You're not guessing, you see it, it's right there. You're not saying, yeah, it's somewhere between 0.5 and 0.6. I'm guessing it's around the 8/10 of the way mark. It's there because you see the line. So you have to write down what you see, and then you have to follow it with your last digit, which is a guess. Now, how many tenths of the way in between these two lines is it? 0. So you say it's right on the line. It's 0 tenths of the way between the 0.58 and the 0.59 line. If you wrote 0.58 and left it there, it would be marked wrong. Because 0.58 means that you see the 0.5 line, you see the 0.6 line, and you just have to do your best and guesstimate it's about 8/10 of the way. And then you would write down, 0.58. 0.58 is different than 0.580. So the correct answer here would be 0.580. Now let's look at these guys. This might be a thermometer, a burette, or a eudiometer, or something like that. So let's first look at the 45 and the 44 line. This means that here's 44. To get between 44 and 45, you have to go up by the tenths of a spot. So 44.1, 44.2, and so forth. This line here represents 44.7. The line above it represents 44.8. So I see the tenth spot. This is what I see, and then I have to tell myself, or the reader of my measurements, that it's in between the 0.7 and 0.8 line. So I'm guessing that that's slightly under halfway. So I'm going to write down for an answer here, maybe 44.7 is what I see, and then I'm going to put a 4 after it. Can you see that? 4. So 44.7 is what I see, and then I'm guessing it's about 4/10 away. Now you might have guessed that that's 5/10 away. So instead of writing 44.74, you write 44.75. So there's your final answer for that one. Now finally, you got -6 and -7. This is a negative scale. So it means this line is -6.1, this line's -6.2, all the way down to -6.9. So this red guy falls in between this line, which is -6.5, and the next one up, which is -6.6. Now it's a little bit more than halfway. So a final answer might be -6.5, because that's what we see. And what falls in between -6.5 and -6.6? I don't know, maybe 2/10 away, right around there. Your final answer has to be between -6.5 and -6.6. So check. This answer does fall in between there. This is what you see. This is your guess. Measuring this way would be incorrect. This is -7, -7.1, -7.2. Some kids might say this is -7.49 or -7.48. That would be incorrect because -7.49 does not fall between -7 and -6. So that doesn't make any sense. So whenever you have a negative scale, always start from the top and start looking down. And count for yourself. What do these little lines represent? They represent the tenths that fall between 6.1 and 7, or 6 and 7. So this would be -6.52. Final answer. Everything you see plus your one guess.